So how can a parent tell the difference between naughty behaviour and behaviour that perhaps has been caused by trauma of this kind?
Oh, that old chestnut. I think it can be really hard, to tell the difference. And remember, you can have traumatised kids who can be a bit naughty, and you can have, kids who might have some other challenges in terms of how they are in the world and how they do relationships, who might also have trauma. So, and don't panic, parents. I suppose the big thing we're saying is whether they're traumatised or just a normal kid doing life, there are some really standard basic parenting principles that are good to keep in mind, right? I suppose the key thing when trauma's involved is we want to be aware that their nervous systems are probably pretty revved up. And so you may well see behaviours that are about their nervous system trying to problem solve. The intention is not to be naughty. The intention is to probably try and get out of a situation or manage a situation or manage the overwhelm that might go in an interpersonal situation, or they get kind of overwhelmed pretty easily. So if you're a parent and you're looking at behaviour that's not okay, I think as we talked, probably went on too much about last time, but take a deep breath and just try and step back a little bit and look at the context. Try and understand what that behaviour might be trying to communicate. It might be it might be, hey, I'm noticing that when you're in this situation, your big feelings seem to kind of get too big. How can I help you? What might be going on? Or just dropping and running with them to sort of say, I'm noticing this. When you're getting upset, what's going on? So, when we see behaviour, we might not know what's driving it. But that parenting with firmness and kindness is going to help you regardless. If there is trauma there, though, things like, loud, angry voices, things like lots of noise, and so it's kind of like you might well want to approach that child's life, not to wrap them in cotton wool, even though that might be really tempting, but it's about going, well, what are the stress points for this child, and what can we take away that might help them decompress a little bit more, because their nervous system's going to be revved up just doing life. So we want to make sure that there's a little bit more regulation there for them, which means we have to be regulated. Anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, I guess I was just going to say, and you've talked to this a little bit, that children who have been experiencing chronic sexual abuse, they may have been holding all these feelings inside that they haven't been able to express, maybe for fear of things getting worse, or threat. There could be threats involved. And so when they feel safe and they're no longer having contact with the person who harmed them, that might be a time when, if the lid opens up a little bit, not only does a small amount of anger come out, or big emotions, but the lid flies off and, you've got a volcano on your hands. And that's maybe more to do with this old anger that's been pent up and not being able to be expressed. And now it is being able to be expressed, and we actually talk about healthy anger, because it's really important that does get out. Because what happens if that sort of anger and frustration and even sadness is not expressed outside of the body, it can turn sort of inward and become quite harmful on the inside, where it doesn't get where it's not able to be released and expressed.
You mentioned about the volcano exploding. I think that can absolutely be the case. I think sometimes we have parents who get really worried that will be the case, if that makes sense, or even little people who kind of go, I don't want to let myself have feelings because that's what I worry about, that it's going to get out of control very easily.
That'd be crazy.
And even if you've spent a long time, as Sam was saying, holding those feelings in, any kind of emotion can feel like it gets out of control. And so I might just shut it down, or my body and brain nervous system finds ways to just kind of shut away from it. So part of therapy, part of the jobs of mums and dads and significant adults is to model and talk about actually these emotions aren't dangerous. They might be scary, but they're not dangerous. And so we're here with you kind of to have these feelings. And a big part of therapy is about saying, how do we help young people, well, actually anybody, have these scary emotions in a safe place? because they are scary emotions. They're part of our brain having remembered some scary things, and our brain bringing it into the present, and helping them process that. So it's kind of like that wound, as Sam was mentioning last time, it's sore, and healing comes from actually caring and tending to it, and that can hurt, and you are equal to it. You're not fragile glass. You are equal to it. You're really robust and safe now, but it may not always feel like that.
I think it's so important though, isn't it, for us as the adults in the child's life. We might be parents or caregivers, or we might be teachers, that we can be looking at this child through a trauma lens, so that we have some understanding that that makes sense that they're hypersensitive to threat right now because of what's happened to them, and that they might see a face that looks neutral, or that we might see as being neutral, but they might see it as an angry face, or a
raised voice,
scary face, or the tone of the voice we might see it as neutral, but it might sound like somebody yelling for them. So their body alarm system's kind of being switched on and staying on for the moment, so that they're just hypersensitive to their environment, and they see danger and threat even when it might not be there.
I think from a teaching or for a parenting point of view, again, that comes back to, though, the temptation might be to go, we can't put a boundary in place, because if we know it comes from that naughty behaviour, comes from a kind of a hurt place, then wouldn't we be being mean if we kind of boundaried it? And again, we can't reinforce enough that in fact safe boundaries are exactly what a young person, well, actually we all need, but especially a hurt person, because it makes you feel safe.
Provides
sexual violence was about boundaries being invaded, and violated. So safe boundaries, where in actual fact they know where the line is. If they step over the line, there's a consistent response. They've got adults doing what they say they were going to do. All of those sorts of things help a young person regulate, and that's the thing they need to get through this. So this isn't about saying, hands off and just let them be. That'll actually make them more scared.